Allison's funeral was scheduled a few weeks after her tragic disappearance. I flew from California to New York to reunite with family and friends whom I hadn't seen in quite some time. I'm Bailey Johnson, 63 years old, and gardening is my hobby. Allison was my precious sister, and I approached this day carrying the weight of grief over her sudden disappearance. Jenny, Allison's daughter, had made all the funeral arrangements. Despite facing her mother's sudden disappearance, Jenny maintained a composed demeanor. When I arrived at the funeral home, Allison's friends and colleagues were already gathered. Deep sorrow was etched on everyone's faces. As I stood before Allison's casket, memories of our time together came flooding back. We sisters had been inseparable since childhood. Though we had our share of arguments, we always ended up laughing together. The thought that Allison was gone made my chest tighten with grief. Bailey. Jenny's voice came from behind me. Though her eyes were filled with tears, she approached me with a steady expression. Thank you for coming. Of course, Jenny, I embraced her. I'm here to say goodbye to your mother. As the funeral proceeded, I decided to open the casket one last time to see Allison's face. With trembling hands, I lifted the lid. The next moment, I froze. This isn't Allison. Inside lay the body of an unknown man. The people around us gasped in shock, and the funeral home erupted into chaos. I didn't recognize the man's face, and his presence here was utterly baffling. Jenny rushed to my side, trembling. What's going on? Where's Mom? I don't know, but something's clearly wrong, I said, trying to maintain my composure. At that moment, Jenny pulled a small USB drive from her pocket. Mom gave this to me just before she disappeared. She said it was important and told me not to give it to anyone. Maybe it's connected somehow. As I listened to Jenny's words, I took the USB drive. This might be an important clue. Just then, we sensed movement behind us. Turning around, we saw a suspicious figure approaching. His eyes were sharp, fixed intently on us. I instinctively felt danger. Bailey, who is that? Jenny whispered. I don't know, but we should leave. I took Jenny's hand, deciding to exit the funeral home. The suspicious figure was gradually closing in. We hurried outside and jumped into Jenny's car. Let's move to a safe place. Then we'll check what's on this USB drive, I instructed Jenny as I started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see the suspicious figure still following us. Jenny took deep breaths as she drove. We headed toward the less populated suburbs to escape the suspicious figure. Tension hung in the air, and I could see Jenny's hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. Jenny, it's okay, I gently placed my hand on her shoulder. Let's get to a safe place and check what's on this USB drive. Jenny nodded, gradually steadying her breathing. The car passed through residential areas and arrived at a quiet park's parking lot. We decided to catch our breath here. Jenny turned off the engine and stared intently at the USB drive in her hand. I wonder if Mom was caught up in something dangerous. Jenny's voice trembled slightly. If we can find out what your mother left on this USB, we might see our next step, I encouraged Jenny, supporting her emotionally. Jenny seemed to steel her resolve as she gripped the USB drive. Thank you, Bailey. I'm glad you're here. We got out of the car and sat on a park bench. Jenny took out her laptop and inserted the USB drive. When we saw the list of files that appeared on the screen, we caught our breath. There were multiple files lined up, and it was clear at a glance that they contained important documents. What should we look at first? Jenny asked. Let's open the first folder. It's important to check each clue your mother left us, I instructed calmly. When Jenny clicked on the first file, a document appeared. It looked like internal corporate documents, containing detailed transaction records and evidence of wrongdoing. This looks like some kind of transaction record. I wonder what Mom discovered, Jenny murmured as she scrolled through the file. This name seems familiar. John Anderson. Wasn't he Allison's colleague? I answered, searching my memory. If he's involved, this might mean more than just transaction records. Jenny continued opening files. Evidence of whistleblowing and corporate corruption emerged one after another. Mom was trying to expose this company's wrongdoing. Could that be why she... Jenny's voice mixed with anger and sadness. This information is just the tip of the iceberg. We need to dig deeper, I encouraged Jenny as I prompted her to open the next file. Just then, we spotted another suspicious figure appearing in the distance at the park. We immediately became alert, closed the laptop, and stood up. Let's leave. We should continue checking this somewhere safe. I took Jenny's hand and we left the park. We returned to the car and started the engine again. What had Allison tried to uncover? Our journey to solve this mystery was just beginning. As we drove away from the park, searching for a safe place, I could see anxiety in Jenny's eyes, but there was also determination in them. What had Allison discovered, and why was she in danger? First, let's contact William Bennett, I suggested to Jenny. William was an old friend of mine, now a retired detective. With his help, we might get closer to uncovering the truth about the conspiracy Allison was caught up in. I took out my smartphone and called William. His calm voice came through the phone. William, it's Bailey. I'm sorry for the sudden request, but we need your help. My sister Allison is in a dangerous situation. William quickly understood the situation and agreed to meet with us. We decided to head to his office. When we arrived at William's office, he warmly welcomed us. William was in his mid-60s, with the calmness and insight that came from years of experience. Bailey, Jenny, come in. Tell me what's happening. William motioned for us to sit down. Jenny handed over the USB drive and briefly explained what had happened. After listening intently to Jenny's story, William took the USB drive and connected it to his computer. I see, so Allison was trying to expose corporate wrongdoing, William pondered as he looked at the screen. We need to analyze this data first. William skillfully began examining the data. His hands moved smoothly across the keyboard as information appeared on the screen one after another. He took a deep breath and carefully checked each important file. The information here is extremely valuable. The corporate corruption that Allison tried to expose is quite significant. William narrowed his eyes as he continued. John Anderson's name comes up frequently. He's likely the central figure in this conspiracy. Jenny nervously bit her lip. So Mom was trying to expose this information. And because of that. That might be the case, William nodded. But not all the pieces are in place yet. We need to investigate more about this John Anderson. We'll help, I said firmly. We'll do everything we can to uncover why Allison was put in danger. William smiled. Bailey, Jenny, let's investigate together. First, we need to make contact with John Anderson and find out what he knows. That day, we decided to gather information about John Anderson. Using William's office as our base, we investigated his past career and current movements, trying to clarify what relationship he had with Allison. I found his address. Let's go meet him directly tomorrow. William wrote down the address and showed it to us. We need to act carefully. We must uncover the truth before he realizes what we're doing. That night, Jenny and I decided to stay at William's office. While rechecking the data on the USB drive and planning our next steps, we remembered Allison. Jenny was torn between fear and a strong desire to know the truth. I finally understand how much danger Mom was facing, Jenny said. If we can reveal the truth, Mom's efforts won't be in vain. That's right, Jenny. We'll fight for Allison. I squeezed Jenny's hand, speaking words of encouragement to her. The next morning, we began our operation at William's office. He had spent all night thinking and preparing for the next move. Today we'll try to infiltrate John Anderson's office, William explained while spreading out a map. The security at his office building is strict, but security tends to be lighter in the early morning hours. We'll use that opening to obtain the necessary information. We headed to John's office building. William's car quietly parked near the building, and we began our careful approach. Bailey, Jenny, let's move quietly from here, William instructed in a low voice, signaling to us. We quietly moved around to the back of the building and headed upstairs using the emergency stairwell. The office building was still quiet, and we moved forward carefully, staying alert to our surroundings. William skillfully picked the lock and entered John's office. Inside, desks and documents were neatly arranged. There should be information about Allison here. William began searching through the desk drawers. Bailey, Jenny, let's split up and search. We checked each document, looking for projects Allison was involved in and email exchanges. Jenny found a file with Allison's name and handed it to William. Look at this, Jenny said while checking the contents. Here's evidence of the fraud Mom was investigating. As we continued our investigation, we discovered that Allison had tried to get John's cooperation. However, John had betrayed her, siding with the company instead. John leaked information to the company and put Mom in danger, Jenny said in a voice mixed with anger and sadness. He was behind all of this. Just then, William found a USB drive in the back of the desk. This might be the key. The most important evidence Allison gathered should be here. We quickly left the office. Back at the motel, we plugged the USB drive into William's laptop. The data that appeared on the screen was astounding. Among detailed information about corporate corruption and names of involved parties, there was also information about where Allison might be held captive. "There's a high chance Allison is here," William said, pointing to a map. "She might still be alive, possibly being held in this facility." Jenny looked at us. "We have to rescue Mom." "That's right, Jenny," I squeezed her hand and nodded firmly. "We must save Allison." William began devising a detailed rescue plan. His plan was meticulous, and we prepared according to his instructions. "We'll start before dawn," William said while looking at the map. "We'll rescue Allison quickly and securely." That night, we made our final preparations at the motel and quietly waited for dawn. The preparations to rescue Allison were complete. Before dawn, we left the silent motel and headed toward the facility where Allison was likely being held. The car was filled with tension. "William, what's the security like at this facility?" Jenny asked anxiously. "Security is tight, but I've identified the locations of surveillance cameras and guard patrol routes. We'll use that information to proceed carefully," William answered calmly. Upon reaching the facility, we parked the car a short distance away and decided to approach on foot. William spread out the facility map and gave us instructions. "First, we'll cross the fence on the east side. From there, we'll approach the building using the blind spots in the surveillance cameras. Jenny, Bailey, are you ready?" We nodded and quietly began moving. We crossed the fence and moved forward, keeping to the shadows of the building. With our hearts pounding and tension rising, we followed William. "This part is crucial," William whispered while checking the camera positions. "We'll move quickly when we're out of the camera's view." We all rushed forward together and successfully reached the building's entrance. William skillfully used a lockpick and quietly opened the door. The inside of the building was dark and cool. As we moved through the building, we heard faint voices in the distance. We headed toward the sound and found stairs leading to a basement. Descending the stairs, we encountered a heavy door, which William again picked open. Beyond the door was a large room, and in the center sat Allison, tied up. Though she looked exhausted, her expression mixed surprise and joy when she saw us. "Allison!" I cried out while rushing to untie her. "Thank goodness you're safe." "Bailey, Jenny, you came." Allison looked at us with tears in her eyes. "Thank you." But at that moment, we heard footsteps behind us. We turned to see several men entering the room, including John Anderson. He wore a cruel smile. "So you've made it this far. However, I can't allow you to proceed any further," John said in a cold voice. "The information Allison has is extremely important to us. We cannot allow her to expose it. Bailey, Jenny, protect Allison." I'll distract them. William spun around and began moving to draw the men's attention. I helped Jenny support Allison as we retreated to the back of the room. "Mom, are you okay?" Jenny asked worriedly. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Jenny." Bailey, Allison smiled weakly. William skillfully maneuvered around the men while signaling to us. "Now, run." We hurried outside. The sun was just beginning to rise. We quickly got into William's car. William made it back safely and caught his breath while driving. "We did it. But we're not safe yet," William said calmly. "Let's go straight to the police and testify about everything. We'll expose John and his company's wrongdoings." We nodded and headed to the police station. Along the way, Allison repeatedly thanked us. "Bailey, Jenny, William, thank you so much," Allison said with deep gratitude. "I don't know what would have happened to me without you all." "Allison, we're family, and we help each other no matter what." I squeezed Allison's hand. At the police station, we explained everything. The police quickly took action and began investigating to arrest John Anderson and the company officials. Allison was temporarily placed under police protection. Thanks to Allison's testimony and the evidence we provided, John Anderson and the company executives were arrested one after another and brought to trial. The news widely reported this major corruption case, and praise spread for Allison's courage and our actions. "Mom, your courage brought about this result," Jenny said proudly. "I want to be strong like you." Allison smiled at Jenny. "Jenny, you're already plenty strong. Keep believing in yourself and standing up for what's right." Afterward, Allison left police protection and began living with Jenny. One day, we decided to hold a small party to celebrate Allison's courage and our bonds. A barbecue was prepared in the garden, and close friends gathered. Allison had regained her smile, and Jenny seemed relieved to see it. "We've made it this far thanks to everyone," Allison expressed her gratitude to all those gathered. William was there too, quietly smiling. "Allison, Bailey, Jenny, your strength and determination brought about this result. I'm proud to have been able to support you." "William, thank you so much." I conveyed my gratitude to him. "We couldn't have made it this far without your help." Several months passed, and our lives gradually returned to normal. Allison used her experience as a corporate whistleblower to work at a newly established nonprofit organization. This organization worked to support and protect people trying to expose wrongdoing. One sunny afternoon, we were invited to a ceremony honoring Allison's achievements. As Allison stood at the podium and began her speech with quiet confidence, Jenny and I watched and listened to her words. "I was able to come this far because of the support of my family and friends," Allison expressed her gratitude. "I've learned deeply that it's especially important to help and support each other during difficult times." When Allison finished her speech, the venue erupted in applause. Her courage and determination touched many hearts. After the ceremony, I spent peaceful moments with Allison and Jenny. The starry sky spread above us as a gentle night breeze blew. "Bailey, Jenny, let's continue walking together," Allison said with a smile. We've overcome difficulties. Whatever problems we face from now on, we can overcome them together. Yes, Mom, Jenny nodded in response. I held both their hands and smiled as I answered, let's keep supporting each other and walking forward together. Allison quietly nodded at those words, and we spent some time gazing up at the starry sky. While feeling the strength of our bonds and hope for the future, we were preparing to face new days ahead. It was a night when we pledged in our hearts that we would continue walking together.